Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video we're taking a look at the forward and rearward CV joint rebuild kit fitting 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers. Now if your JK is experiencing some driveline lash, shaking, or clunking, the CV joints on your drive shaft might be the culprits. Now this kit gives you everything you need to rebuild both of those joints and get your Jeep running smoothly again. Not only will this kit get your JK back into fighting shape, but you'll also save some money by doing the job yourself, and you'll get a nice sense of accomplishment having fixed such a common issue with these rigs. Now while it might not be the most exciting thing to talk about, CV joints, also known as Rzepa joints, are a crucial part in the automotive realm. The CV joint, or constant velocity joint, is made up of a spherical housing and an inner shell. Now the inner shell can move around it while staying in constant rotational motion, but it's really just a fancy ball bearing joint, as you can see right here. But having a lift, locking diffs, or even larger wheels and tires puts extra stress on these joints, and it can cause issues for your rig. Now this kit gives you everything you need to rebuild both the front and rear joints on the drive shaft. They are identical, so you've got two of everything here. And it's going to make everything function smoothly again, thus eliminating vibration and excess movement in the joints. You also even get some grease in the kit to make it happen too. Now this kit again comes with everything you need to rebuild your CV joints. You've got bolts, you've got clamps, everything. It's all new, it's gonna give the joints a full refresh. Now everything is made to OEM specs as well, so it's gonna fit right, and should get your JK driving smoothly for a while to come. Pricing comes in around $150 for the kit, making this a pretty economical choice, especially considering you get everything you need in this kit and you can do it yourself. That's going to save you a ton versus taking it to the shop, since you're not going to pay labor costs. Now it is a little bit of an involved job, but not too terrible. We'll talk about that though right now. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you around 2 hours to complete. Now while this is not a difficult thing to accomplish, you are going to have to get up underneath the Jeep, disconnect your drive shaft. It sounds like a daunting thing, but if you've got some experience turning wrenches, then you're going to be more than fine. And even if you don't, we've got you covered. So with that, let's hand things over to one of our XT customers who's going to walk you through the process.
Air ratchet to help get some of the 8mm headed bolts out. Socket for that. These could work also. 8mm. Torque wrench for tightening up the bolts. Channel locks help push some things together. Pliers help take the clamp off. Snap ring pliers. You don't have to have them, but it's easier. Hammers. We all know what they're for. Screwdriver to pry. Loctite to hold the bolts tight so they don't come off later. Punch for separating that joint cap. 18mm socket for removing the skid plate. 15mm socket for removing the drive shaft. Impact, you don't have to have it, but it sure makes it easier. Reducer for the impact to get to whatever length extensions to help it easier for the bolts. This is a swiveled socket. It helps, a wobble socket I think they call it. It helps if you can't get directly at it, you can turn it. It works sort of like a U-joint. Ratchet, hand tighten thing. Extension. Gloves recommended.
So today we're going to be replacing this CV joint because the boot is torn and flung grease everywhere. So we're going to do this by removing the front axle, and to start we're going to remove this skid plate just to make it easier. All of these bolts are 18mm. You'll find the first one along the driver's side frame rail. Next will be on the gas tank. And the final two will be right up here towards the front. Next, what we're going to do is take out these 4 bolts on the drive shaft towards the front of the vehicle. We have it jacked up, that way we can rotate it easily. But before that, we're going to strap it so it doesn't fall on us once we get it unbolted. We're using oversized zip ties, but any sort of strap should work. And then these are 15mm bolts. And you may need to use a rubber mallet to pull it out if it doesn't just come right off. So now we're finally onto the part we'll be replacing. It's known to have torn boots, especially if you have higher lift kits or oversized tires on it with that extreme angle. The front drive shaft is more prone to this because it's longer. So we're going to remove these bolts. These bolts are 8mm and there are 8 of them. They each have these little plates, one bolt connecting to the other. So just be aware of that. That helps spread all of the load more evenly. It'd be a good idea to break these 8mm bolts loose while the vehicle's still on the ground, not jacked up while in park with the brake on. That way the drive shaft isn't spinning while you're trying to turn these. We're using an air gun to get in here just because the bolts are so long. It makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, you can just do it by hand or with a ratchet. There's 8 of them. Here we're using an extra long extension with a socket on the end of an impact. This is also another option that you can do. Just go ahead and break these 8mm bolts loose with the drivetrain or the drive shaft still connected. Otherwise, if you try and do it with the front of the drive shaft disconnected, the whole thing will just spin. Go ahead and completely remove all of these bolts then. Now we're going to go ahead and smack it with a rubber mallet to break it free. Put a flathead screwdriver in there to try and wedge it apart. Hit it like a chisel. Depending on how long it's been since this has ever come off or how old the Jeep is, it might be more difficult. You can use a chisel to hit right in here and you'll destroy the existing CV joint, but you're putting a new one in anyway. Because the rear drive shaft has these CV joints on each end, you're just going to do remove the bolts and then chisel away at both of them. The front axle is different because the CV's only on the one end, with then that U-joint on the other. So the rear axle might be a little more work, but mainly the front axle is where it's prone to tearing a boot first, especially with lifted tires. So there's the torn boot right there on the existing one. Next we're going to take off this ring that's holding the boot on, and then we're going to pry away at this piece to get this end cap off.
I'm going to squeeze it and loosen that. We're going to see if we can separate that.
Go ahead and wipe it out enough because we're going to be taking out a snap ring. We have to be able to see it. I'm going to remove the snap ring next. It doesn't matter if that one gets destroyed because we have a new one that it comes with. Next we're going to hit the old joint off. The next step is to clean these splines very well with brake cleaner. Next we're going to take the new joint out of the bag and put grease all in the ball bearings and the spline, while ensuring that afterwards we are going to clean where the seal will go and then also clean where the bolts will go, because you don't want any grease there that'll mess with the seal or mess with the thread lock that we'll put on the bolts. You want to make sure you apply the grease very liberally and to not just put grease on the top, but actually get it down in all of the bearings. You want to make sure you do both sides. The more grease, the better. It'll increase the longevity of this part. Squirt any excess grease onto the inside of the cap. And then we're going to clean this side, clean where the seal is going to go, and then clean the thread holes. We're going to use the old bolt now to push the grease through the bolt holes. And then you can just wipe the ends off. You want to make sure that the bolt holes are free of grease and where the seal will go is free of grease. Those are very important parts. Next, you want to put the clamp on. You can use either the new clamp that's provided if you have a CV boot clamp tool. If not, and the original one is in good shape, you could also use that because that only requires pliers. Then you're going to slide the boot on just a little bit to the end of the splines. And you can work it the whole way down to where the boot will sit. So now that we have the boot end on, you can go ahead and slide the joint on. And then any excess grease that's pushed, you can make sure that it's placed so that the seal will not be covered in it. And then we will be putting on the snap ring. You can spin it around to make sure it's in properly. Wipe the seal again just to make sure it's clean. And then we're going to put the other end onto it. Might be a little hard to go on. You can use channel locks with some light pressure around to ensure that it's on tight enough. Then you can put the ring around the boot to ensure it stays on. You can either use the old clamp if it's still in good condition and you don't have a CV joint boot tool, or use the new one if you have that tool. So these little plates have a flat and a round side. You want to make sure you put the flat side down, and you can place the bolts through each end and then put them on through. And then you can apply Loctite to the ends of every bolt. Then you can do that for 4 sets of these. You're going to want to re-strap it. Help secure it in place. You want to get all of the bolts in and at least finger tighten them so they don't back out. Now back towards the front end of the front drive shaft, just put in 2 bolts to make it easier, and we'll come back later and put all 4 in properly with the right torque of 81 foot-pounds and Loctite. And then we'll snug these bolts up to 15 foot-pounds, and we already applied Loctite. You can use channel locks. The channel locks will help pull it all together and make it tight. Go ahead and snug these 6mm Allen bolts up. Applying even pressure the whole way around, similar to how putting on a wheel would be. You want to make sure you use hand tools to put these in because you don't want anything to bind, and it is a very tight fit. So it can be very easy for something to go in that's not aligned properly. Now that they're all snug down, we can torque them to 15 foot-pounds, do each one. Next we can take these bolts from the front of the front drive shaft back out and apply Loctite to them. And then put them back in at 81 foot-pounds. Hand tighten them all in first, then rotate the drive shaft, put the other two in, and then you can remove your strap holding the drive shaft up. Then we can use the 15mm socket to snug these down before using the torque wrench. And the final step is to put the skid plate back on with the 4 bolts that are both 18mm. Bolt locations are here, 2 right there, 1 down here, and then the other one down at that gas tank skid plate.
That's going to do it here for our review and install of the forward and rearward CV joint rebuild kit fitting 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Jeep, be sure to keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.